bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da-da-da bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my Monday night friends, new and old. I love to see you all here. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to talk about homeopathy and teach you what I know about homeopathy. Can't teach you everything on a Monday night, but I can give you tips and get you interested and keep you curious and keep you satisfied as well. So, for those who are new, that's what we do. For those who I know and who've been with me for many years, hi friends. It's great to see you all. Hello from Naples, says Lori. Good evening from Toronto, says Olga. Very important. Oh, it is a very important topic. Yes, we're going to be talking about, pets are people too. Yes, hello from, let's see, Southern Illinois and Oklahoma. So wonderful. Hi, everyone. Hi, Harry. Sam has a new hat. Oh, yeah. So Sam Hahnemann, in case you don't know him, is the man who discovered and put together, organized, and put together homeopathy. And he has a new beret because, it's summer. He needs a lighter color. Well, he's a little washed out, but that's because he died, a couple hundred years ago. So, alrighty, my friends, shall we talk? Now, let me tell you. Hi, Kristen in Japan. Hi, Irene in Montreal. Hi, Elizabeth from rainy PA. I just drove through PA, and it was raining. It was raining. Just came in last night. Just drove through PA. Hello, Carrie from Central Illinois. It's wonderful to see you all. So I had someone who wrote to me recently and said, for the Mighties, they really like when I give a little more information, a little more in-depth information than what I give, of course, on Monday Night Live and on podcasts, etc. And she had a very valid point. She said, can we just learn more? And I said, absolutely. I mean, I don't know that I know I responded to it, but sometimes it takes a while because it goes through channels in my little team, and I hope she got my message. So I appreciate comments. And so I took it to heart. And I want to tell you that tonight we're going to talk about, yes, pets being left behind and what happens to them and how they react to that and what we do about it. First, I want to tell you a story about a cockatiel. A case that I took, it was a cockatiel. And the cockatiel owner actually came into my office with the cockatiel. And it was awful looking. It had no feathers. I mean, maybe it had like a sprig here and a sprig there, but it was bare naked. It looked like, and it was all red and kind of chewed away at, and it was really very sickly looking. Not its body, the robustness of the shape of its body was fine, but the skin was a mess and there were no feathers. It actually looked like, I don't know, it got into a Cuisinart or something, and somebody pushed frappe. I mean, it was awful looking. It had a couple feathers on top of its head, and that was it. And I asked what color were the feathers. Were the feathers? They were white. So I said, what happened? Did something attack it? No, she said, the bird is pulling out her own feathers. And it's because I inherited her, and she was given to me because the owner passed away. I'm pretty sure it was either the owner passed away or the owner didn't want her anymore, and now she was in another home. She was grieving. She was pulling her feathers out and picking at her skin. Excuse me. And so this was years ago when I took this case. And it was long before I met the Banerjees. And Prateep Banerjee once said to me, for those of you who don't know this, he turned to me in the very first year and said, Joette, I suppose you've noticed how seemingly indiscriminately we use Ignatia 200 twice daily. And I said, well, Prateep, you're right. I've never seen anybody use that medicine so frequently. So, excuse me. So because of that comment and what I noticed that they were using in the academy, in the clinic, I began using Ignatia more frequently. But this was well before then. This was a good 25 years before, 20 years, something like that, before that, when I got this cockatiel in my office who actually sat on her arm, and then the bird let me hold her as well, and she sat on my arm. And so the whole story was that the bird was given to somebody else, and it missed its friend, its owner, its person. So I said, Ignatia, 200C. Now, in those days, I didn't think to repeat it as often as I would today. Today, I would use Ignatia 200C twice a day until very much better. But I didn't then. I said, as I recall, it was a long time ago, I believe it was Ignatia 200C, and I said to give 2 doses in 24 hours and then stop, which is often the classical method. And I have to say this is one of those successful classical cases, because when she brought the bird back to me about 8 weeks later, it had feathers. It wasn't gorgeous, but it had feathers. And you didn't see its skin as much. And the sores were gone, and she was delighted. And then she never brought the bird back to me again. So I never saw her again, but I heard about the bird from someone else, that the bird's feathers grew completely back in with Ignatia 200C. Now, that's from having missed someone, grieving their lives. It's a great medicine. And as I said I used it only a couple times in a day or so, or 24 hours. But I would use it twice daily now. Now, that is different than what we're talking about, what I talked about in my blog last night. And that's different than when someone is homesick. So I had a lot of questions on my blog, because it was a blog about homesickness last night. And people are thinking that, well, if you can give a homeopathic medicine for homesickness, couldn't you use it for someone who is just an unhappy person? Or could you just give it to someone who is, depressed? Or could you just give this, and the medicine that I talked about last night on the blog was cocculus. Cocculus, C-O-C-C, cocculus. And so I tried to explain, those who are not familiar with homeopathy, that it depends on what's actually happening. Is it that the person, the bird, the dog, the cat, whatever it might be, is missing someone? Is it that they are homesick? Is it that they are grieving? Is it that they are just unhappy people? We need to know this. And it really does make a difference, my friends. Because as I look in my repertory, here it is. I'm using Robin Murphy's 4th edition, and I look under the mind section. By the way, if you're interested in protocols for psychological issues, Joette's Learning Center, and then scroll down to Mindful Homeopathy. I put an entire course together for all psychological and emotional conditions. But we're not doing that now. Right now we're going to look under anxiety, because we're talking about when a dog is left behind, right? Let's say it's not left behind in the house alone. It might be left behind with a relative. Or it could be in the house, but someone is coming in to take care of the dog. But the dog has been left alone. Could be a cat, my friends. Doesn't have to be a dog. Could be a bird, my friends. Animals have emotions. As I said, they're people too. Because of military moves, we had a child of ours fit a homesickness remedy and other things with the remedy in the Materia Medica for Anisha. That's right. I figured out this evening, Deborah, I always seem to have trouble getting to the right spot on Monday nights. I'm sorry you're having that trouble. I'm sure that we have either Serena or Natalie with us tonight to help. Ignatia saved my life after losing my mama. Yes, you bet, Tina. You bet. Not a frappe any longer. Great points. Love hearing your comments. Love reading your comments. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions because I'm going to keep going with this. I just want to make sure that I'm hitting it out of the park. We got our lovely dog King after a college student neglected and abandoned him. He grieved. Then Ignatia 200C brought him out of the grief and his disruptive behavior stopped. Homeopathy works. You bet, Lisa T. You're absolutely right. Ignatia 200 twice a day helped someone enormously through the first weeks of a marital breakdown. Also aconitum for the initial shock. You got it. Start with aconitum and then you can add Ignatia. And sometimes because of that shock, we could start with that for a dog who thinks that, the family's left him or her. Gone. And now what? And if the dog is frightened, let's stay with the dog for now, okay? If the dog is frightened and it feels as though maybe it's pretty clear that the dog is kind of having a panic attack, you can tell. You don't have to ask the dog, you observe, and you can tell if a dog is having a panic attack. They get very nervous and restless, and they might go from door to door and window to window looking all around, and they're very, very, very anxious. Then we would indeed start with Aconitum nipalis, because anyone who has a panic attack, we're going to think of Aconitum nipalis, 200C twice daily. It's not the only remedy we've got for panic attacks. No. But it's one of the top ones that we do think of. And upcoming rabies shot due to elderly dog with cough using Ipecac. Town required. Nervous dog's health will worsen. What to do? Well, think twice about it, Michelle. Think twice about it. There are ways to work around that. Yeah, the town requires it, but is it your dog? Are you sure it's your dog? Does it have a tag that has maybe your parents' name and address on it? The dog doesn't really, I don't know, maybe the dog lives more with your parents than with you. So I've written about it. Joe at Calabrese, Buster, and I've written about it. And boy, I'm sorry that I did that to Buster. We resolved it, but it's because I had a lot of homeopathy behind me that helped me. Pulsatilla helped our puppy when we first brought her home. Ignatia for dog for severe separation anxiety. Again, yes, separation anxiety, Corrine, but we want to know exactly how is the dog acting. We'll go back to it. You'd think that animal shelters would benefit from using these remedies. You would think that, wouldn't you, Alice? So would hospitals. So would emergency rooms. So would OBGYNs. Should we keep going? How about schools? Veronica says, I use Aconite 200 for nervous system overstimulation that stimulate allergic reactions. It has been a blessing. You bet. Very well thought out, Veronica. Veronique. Very pretty name. All righty. So let's get back to this. So the bird was grieving. Now we've got a dog that's pacing and freaking. And let's say there's a dog sitter at the house, but the dog knows the family is gone and it's just freaking out. Or the dog has been brought to someone else's home and and is now in a new place and doesn't understand this. And it's pacing and freaking out. Yes, I would think of Aconitum 200. And how often do we use something like that? I would use it twice daily. How long? For as long as it's needed. In other words, if you see a shift within, the dog has calmed down, you give the medicine, oftentimes the person or the dog or the cat or whatever it might be just lays down and takes a nap. Can't do that if you're restless, freaking, and in a panic attack, can you? And so it's we might want to start with Aconitum. But let me also say that if the dog is homesick, now the dog's not at home, and the people are not there, it's family. Now we're going to use calculus. Instead, now the dog is at home and there's a dog. I'm sorry, I jumped around a little bit. Now the dog is at home with a dog sitter, pacing, freaking, panicking, aconitum. Probably a couple doses is all that's needed. Then, if the dog is still suffering, and it's clear that and that there's a true need for its family, now we look up. How do we look up separation anxiety? One of our best ways to look it up is in the repertory. And I look under the mind section, and then I look under anxiety. Okay? Anxiety, what kind of anxiety? Anxiety about being alone. So it could also happen when you leave the dog to go to work. Every time you leave the dog freaks out. Maybe it barks, maybe it paces, maybe it messes in the house, maybe it ruins things. Let's see what Teresa says. If phosphorus worked wonders for a dog who really used to freak out over storms or fireworks, but now doesn't do much, should I switch remedies? Now the remedy doesn't do much. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention tonight, that phosphorus is a great medicine for anyone who is sensitive to electricity or electrical storms or thunderstorms. It might not even be electrical. And oftentimes the dog knows in advance that this is coming. It can sense that there is a storm coming in. And it knows. And it's under the bed shaking. And you're saying, why is the dog under the bed? There's nothing going on. And then 20 minutes later, a thunderstorm erupts. And the dog already could feel it. Yes, and phosphorus was a great medicine for that. Phosphorus 200. You can give that every 15 minutes if the dog is in a panic. So now it doesn't help any longer, says Teresa. So what we do is medicines act like that. These homeopathic medicines act like that. They can often take off the edge at the top of a concern. And then it works for a while, but then it doesn't do enough. It doesn't go deep enough. Now what do? We have to look at what's presenting now. So although the dog still has a problem, is the problem the same? What if now instead of the dog pacing or shaking under the bed, instead now it's messing in the house? Something's changed. It's still nervous. You can tell that it has something to do with the weather. You can tell that it's making the dog anxious, but now the dog's doing something else. That's what you pin your head on. That's what you want to go after. You want to use that symptom that has changed that will make all the difference in the world. I think that would be good. Let's say people are responding to each other. Pulsatilla has been great for separation anxiety. Pulsatilla is also very good for separation anxiety. So I'm looking now in the mind section under anxiety, and it says when alone. And even if there's someone there taking care of the dog, that dog might feel left alone. It was abandoned, right? And we could even look under abandonment. But let's start here, when alone. And what we have are the most important remedies are arsenicum and phosphorus. But we also have pulsatilla, lycopodium, sulfur. We've got a drosera, argentum nitricum. And I really like that arsenicum and phosphorus are very, very big in that rubric. Very important remedies. Alrighty, so what would we do? Let me tell you that when I was working in the classical paradigm, I partially, perhaps because I was not as experienced as I am today, but I felt hemmed in. I was worried if I used the wrong medicine. What if I choose the wrong medicine? Could it then cause more suffering? What if it could cause a suppression? And that was one of his thoughts when he was putting together the organon. He did talk about that. He warned against using the wrong medicine, the homeopathic medicine, because it could cause suppression. But he went on and he changed that. He never said it exactly like that, but he was much more open to choosing medicines without worrying like that. And I'm going to tell you, friends, I don't worry. I choose the best chosen medicine I can find for a specific condition. I've done my homework, and I don't jump on it. I think it through. I repertorize it perhaps, or if I don't need to repertorize it because I've got my exact protocol all ready. I might sleep on it. I might think about it again, and then choose my medicine. And if it doesn't act, it doesn't act. It won't cause approving because you're not going to use it that many times. Could it cause approving? It could. But even if it did cause approving, you can move from there as well. We have to be sure-footed enough to move forward in a decision because meanwhile, our family member, our dog, is suffering. We have to come up with an answer. So it's not a bad idea to just give it a try. If you're thinking, well, maybe it's pulsatilla, give pulsatilla. These are our medicines, friends. They are not dangerous if they're used with intelligence. They're only dangerous when someone says, oh, let's just use this for 2 years and take it every day for 2 years and knows nothing about homeopathy, has not read the Materia Medica or not followed a protocol, etc. Teresa says, I was only using phosphorus as needed. Yes, because you don't, if somebody has a reaction to a family member or the family being gone and being left behind, you're not going to be using calculus every day for a year or even 6 months. You're going to use it at the time of the concern. And you're going to stop when there's very much better improvement. Now, let me tell you that when there is an acute condition, and that's what we're talking about here, it's an acute condition, it happens only upon certain circumstances, then we're going to use the medicine often more close together, so maybe every hour, every 3 hours, every 6 hours if it's very severe. And we're going to see a shift within a very short order if it's the correct medicine. When it's a chronic condition, eczema, irritable bowel syndrome, loss of fur, that's been going on for a long time. Now that's a chronic condition. Now we stay with an exact protocol. And more often than not, it's twice a day, or it's once a day, or it's every other day, depending on the protocol, right? And so that's going to take longer. So Piper Yates says, I use homeopathics in animal rescue, and for my animals, I have great results with Ignatia and aconites specifically. But I've also used it for mom cats with mastitis when kittens are weaned. It is amazing. You're absolutely. Mastitis, belladonna, phytolacca, beautiful, beautiful. Nice job. People are asking how to administer it. You can drop the pills on the food. I know they say don't take it with food. Look, friends, if you only have one shot to give a medicine, such as in a method in which you are told that you should only have one shot, you can only give the medicine once or twice in 24 hours, then the mouth better be clean when you administer the medicine. There should be no food in the mouth. But if you're going to repeat the medicine every few hours, or you're going to repeat the medicine every, twice a day, or you're going to repeat the medicine once a day or every other day for over a period of days and weeks, one dose in which it's been administered that there's food in the mouth is not a big deal. How can I administer a remedy if the dog won't take water or the pill? The dog doesn't take water? Well, your dog must drink water, Catherine, right? You can also put it in water, about this much. It looks like about an ounce, 2 ounces. Put in 2 ounces of water, and then you can get a syringe, says somebody, or you can also pour it in a spray bottle and spray it. Spray it around the mouth, open the mouth, pour it in the mouth, get a teaspoon, pour it in the mouth. You can even, let's say the dog won't even let you near its mouth. Pour it in the inside of the ear, not a lot of it, but spray it on the inside, lift the ear up, put it inside the ear. Put it around the mouth, put it on the nose, you put your hand in it and keep applying it to the dog's nose. You could put it under the tail. We're looking for mucosal areas. Our black lab loved homeopathy. I would place the pill on the floor and she would lick it up and shift it around her mouth until she could crunch it. And it was boron small homeopathic. Yes, Buster would come too. I would put it on the floor. I would just drop the pills on the floor. He'd come and lick them up. I keep homemade bone broth in the freezer with no salt or herbs. Dissolve the remedy in water and then add 10 drops to the broth, and they lick it up right away. Yep, okay, so we're getting to 8:25. Argentum helps my clingy dog whenever she is anxious. You are absolutely, Argentum nitricum is very, very good for clinginess, for anxiety, for fear of going over bridges, and even dogs have that fear of going over bridges, friends. If you see a dog that has fear of going over the bridge and it tightens up or starts to shake, it's not very common, but it can happen. Then, my friends, you are going to use Argentum nitricum. And what potency might we use it in? A 6? A 30? A 1M? A 200? A 10M? I like 200s for this kind of a thing, for a lot of emotional things. Not always, but for the mind and emotional things. My kids and I had so much fun making liquid remedies with your Cool Kids course today. Oh, I love to hear that, April. Love it. Love that your kids are enjoying the Cool Kids course. Elizabeth says, Jo had told how she had her mom on the protocol for helping and preventing strokes for years. Yes, I believe that's right. I did. And it did protect her for a very long time. And then it didn't. But helps pets during fireworks too. Love phosphorus. Yes, Lisa, thank you for mentioning that. Somebody had said it earlier. Fireworks, you're absolutely right. Okay, my friends. Now we're going to go to Joette's Mighty members, and I'm going to say goodbye to my social media group. And we're going to go to Joette's Mighty members, and we're going to talk a little bit more on this subject of pets are people too. Pardon me?